a man is typically the provider. Now, if the woman is providing, then she can do whatever she wants to do. But when it's a man, it's like, yo, if I'm gonna provide for you, knowing that the person I'm providing for was out here with all of these other persons, I kind of look crazy providing for a person who has been spread thin.
That's ego. That's ego talking. And when
Yeah,
you
it
release the
is.
ego and you talk with reassurance and confidence, then you won't have to feel like you have to talk to, because what you're really saying is, I don't want my friends looking at me providing for you, and you used to be this, and that. Like, if you're confident in yourself, yes, this is a woman, but she's changed, and you may have had her, but you have not had her in the way that I've had her.
I mean, I look at it as standards, not ego. And at the end of the day, we have to draw the line on what our standards are. Because at some point in time, you're not going to deal with certain things that somebody's bringing to the table, or I don't want to say bring to the table but certain things that somebody's past has, that has transpired in their past. As a man, and I'm telling you, for most men, we're not going to stick with that, knowing, because as a man,
And so you want the truth. Now, a woman doesn't feel like, and to go back to what we were talking about with women towing the line or lying or withholding information, and that's because of what you're just saying right now. Like, a woman can be your perfect candidate, but because of her past, you X her out without even giving her a chance because of her past. Now, if I lie to you about that past and show you me, and you get to know me, and then you find out about my past, maybe
no, that's even worse.
Okay, so welcome guys to Little Black Book 91. We're talking to you guys about this subject. So men don't want hoes. They don't want virgins. They want a good mix in between. Okay, they want the whole version. Okay, all right. So this particular topic is really interesting because what they were talking about, I was talking about with a friend I think a few days ago, and I was saying that what he described there was that, okay, first and foremost, in order to really understand this, you have to understand basic human terminology in terms of how we operate as men and women. And without going too deep too early, if you want to find out what my thoughts are, stick with this video. Like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of the uploads. And for those of you who are returnees, you already know what it is, baby. You got the minerals. You gotta be the rose. Welcome to Little Black Book. All right, cool. So in order to understand this, men, we talk about, let's say, kings and queens, okay? So kings have domains. Kings have, they should have a domain, which they should rule. First and foremost, your first domain is yourself. You yourself. How do you rule yourself? That's the first and foremost. And then you start to rule as an expertise, your particular field of work, career, how you make your money. That's your next area. You rule in then your family. How do you rule your family? How do you dominate what is your domain like in your family life, right? Now, when we talk about men and women, or talking about kings and queens, the ideology of men, if we want to call it a patriarchal idea, but a woman was called a helpmeet, meaning she was added to the man. Okay. Now, the trouble with man when they fell is that there are all sorts of things that come along with a man or a woman. Now, one of the things that comes along with a man is ego. Oh, and she mentioned it quite clearly. She said, "Oh, your ego, is talking," and she's absolutely right. But does she know what the ego consists of? The male ego. Does she know what it consists of? Because when you begin to understand what the male ego begins to exist on, then you begin to understand how men can begin to think and the way they begin to move. So when we're dealing with the male ego, what we're looking at essentially is how, first and foremost, recognition, attention, and then recognition, attention, and an action, okay, for male ego, right? So that comes underneath the validation aspect, but recognition, attention, and obviously action, okay? And now one of the things that really troubles these kind of conversations is that with men, they want recognition. This is why men compete against men. This is why in the patriarchy, men should be fighting against other men. They're competing for resources. Within that, we're looking to achieve. This is why women like men with status, because they understand that status holds some level of power within the society due to the society we set up. But within that, to achieve something is to have gone through some level of rigorous testing. Okay, so when men achieve, they are glorified and they are recognized within the community. That's why we say someone like is Hall of Fame, or we can say somebody is so good at this, they're an expert at this, they're amazing at this, they're really good at this. We can say all those things because they've achieved this, and men are always striving to achieve that, right? because we're also valued on that. What have you done? What have you achieved? What have you accomplished? See, a woman and a man is different. A woman can go by life and not achieve anything but apart from have a husband. Right? Have a husband, have kids, stay at home, and nobody says a bat an eyelid. A man tries to stay at home and become a house husband. That's all you ever achieved. We're going to have problems in society. So a man has to achieve something, right? He has to be recognized for something. Then attention. He has to be given attention. He has to be appreciated, or someone showing a level of desire for him. And that often comes from the recognition. As you get recognized, people begin to give you attention. This is the male ego, okay? Understanding that really, really quickly. And then action. There should be an action that precedes out of this whole situation that then loops it back into what we're talking about, right? So with men specifically, because men are supposed to be head of household leaders, kings of their domain, a woman is like, the Bible describes a woman as the glory of her man, almost like the treasure in that kingdom. She's valuable. She's this, she's that. But what's really interesting is that when you're looking from a king and queen perspective, and you look at how kings were, if another king comes and sleeps with your wife, it's a different type of violation. Wars start when men have allowed, other men have intruded or impeded on a man's wife. And the Bible even says that about the fire in the bosom of a husband that has been hurt by an adulterous wife, in a sense, right? So when it comes to this particular issue, when it comes to men and women, men amongst other men, of course, they're going to look for recognition. And one of the hardest things for men to do is to step outside of that society. So if a woman has, let's say, been with several other men within that community, the recognition for attaining her goes down. It's ego. It is ego. I'm going to be honest with you. It is ego. All right? I'll be honest with you. But a game is a game. So if those kings know of each other, at least if they know of each other, right? Or there's some loose connections of knowing who these kings are between themselves, and that woman has slept with several of those kings, the treasure of that woman, the value of that woman goes down in the eyes of men. The recognition goes down, and thus when the recognition goes down, so does the attention. And as for a result, the action is to not wife this girl, because no longer would I get the recognition, right? This is a part of it. I'll be honest with you. This is a part of what they're talking about. The trouble with this also is that when something has several easy accesses to it, we tend to reduce its value. If everyone can get a hold of this commodity, it tends to reduce its value. This is why expensive minerals like gold and silver and them things there are much more expensive, because one, first of all, the properties of that particular item, but also as well the rarity of being able to find an item. You don't just go into the street and find gold. If you did, the price of it would go down. So again, when a woman, then obviously a woman in the eyes of kings, I'm just saying this, and it's very one-sided, by the way, as well, because men are the ones who are choosers, not women. Women choose, of course. If a man chooses you, a woman can say no. But the men are the propagators. They are the leaders of the community. Thus, unfortunately, they get to make the rules. So now, when obviously that, when that woman then has slept with several of the kings, if they know about each other already, if they didn't know, it's less of a problem. But now her value goes down in the eyes of those men. Okay. Now here, back to my original topic, because we're talking about the fact that men want to date, not necessarily hoes. With this subject, men want to date women that are freaky in the bed, but you know what? A lady in the streets, but a freak in the bed, right? They want women to be more sexy, but they don't need them to be necessarily hoes. The difficulty with this is that there are people that are hoes that are being wifed. I don't like saying hoes, but somebody might describe it as being as such, and someone will say that they're being wifed up. And there are always going to be a market for that. Ask Hosea in the Bible. There's always going to be a market for people that can do that. The majority of men don't want to fall to that line. What they do want is not a virgin, but not a hoe. They want a woman to be freaky. So they want a woman to be more sexy. So yes, be ladylike, but be sexy for me. There's a big difference. Be ladylike, but be sexy for me. Because men are very protective over reputation. Because reputations kill. So men will get very protective and territorial over their women, because what they want to do is preserve their image in front of other men. Because as soon as other men realize you're weak, they test. Right? When other kings see that your domain is weak, they tend to test. There's an escalation of violence for men. And the violence doesn't have to be a fight. Violence is I take what you have. Right? So because of that natural thought process that happens behind the scenes, like the computer, the subconsciousness work behind the scenes, you realize men don't want to choose certain women that can be either taken from them, easily swayed, don't have good boundaries. They don't wife these particular women. They have sex with them, they play around with them, but don't wife them, right? Because if another king comes along, I need to trust that you can hold your own until I get there. Because again, I'm territorial. But yeah, a lot of men don't want the good girl, and they don't want necessarily the bad girl. They want a mix of the good and the bad. It's the kind of paradoxical kind of energy that we were requiring from a lady. It's really interesting how this works. Let's go back to what the video is saying, and I'll just bring it back to my argument again.
So getting wifed up, or the girls with the past, or the girls who shake their booties on Instagram or stuff like that, it's because they are who they are. At the end of the night, a man doesn't have to guess who she is. It's the girl that has to hide who she is, and he is finding out like all of this secret stuff about her.
Yo, because earlier today, right, we were talking about, we had a guy talk, like earlier today we were talking, and they said that one of my homies said, my dad taught me one thing, is that you never know. When it comes to women, you never know. And that's such a broad statement, but it describes a lot. You know what I'm saying?
It does.
So when a girl that is, but I'm not gonna lie, those typically don't get white for love.
Every woman is different for the man that she wants to be different for. Like, I may have been a hoe, I may have not taken any guy serious, but then I get with you and I'm like, I tell you everything.
It don't work that way.
I'm different. It can work differently. Like,
women
are different. Just like a man is different for the woman. You might not spend nothing on me, but go to the next girl and you buy her everything.
But it's different though, because this is why it's different. And we can't speak when it comes to women versus men in that ideology, only, in my opinion, only because a man is typically the provider. Now,
and what he's about to say is very important. Because men are not only just providers, but they are the leaders of the society that we live in. They are the leaders of the culture we live in. They make up the rules. And so thus, in the rules, they can say, these are what the rules of engagement actually are. This is what we hold as value. This is what we don't hold as value.
Now, if the woman is providing, then she can do whatever she wants to do. But when it's a man, it's like, yo, if I'm going to provide for you, knowing that the person I'm providing for was out here with all of these other persons, I kind of look crazy providing for a person who has been spread thin.
That's ego. That's ego talking. And when you release the ego and you talk with reassurance and confidence, then you won't have to feel like you have to talk to, because what you're really saying is...
I like where she was going at first, right? She said about the ego. That's absolutely right. In some cases, it's ego of misogyny. That's sometimes the ego, and it's just plain stupid of us. But what you have to understand is, like I said, is if you choose a particular girl, how men react, how men, and not just how men react, men are very submissive to other men, right? We don't find it a struggle. Men don't struggle to submit in the society. Now, don't get twisted. They might war, they might revolt, they might even, try to take over leadership. Yep, but when they want to submit, they submit. And so what you'll find is that with us, for men, is that they'll struggle to say, I don't care what other people's thoughts are, because remember, the ego is concerned with recognition. And we're all concerned with recognition as men in some shape or form, right? Where you have to be strong to want to now defend your choice. That's the difficulty for a lot of men. They don't have to defend their choice. Like I said, as for me, I now really don't care. What I care about is your mindset. Is your mindset different to what it was then? If your mindset's still the same as it was when you were having sleep with several people, then we don't need to talk about that. But if your mindset's different, you should show me through actions and the way you speak. I should know that, okay, this person's mindset is different. I don't even ask what people's body count is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't. But it's very wild if now men that and I come to you and say, but I hate that as well, bro. Because now what you have to do is you have to level set. You now have to level set with every man that's in your circle. Like, yeah, bro, like, or people that are close to you say, hey, look, I respect that, but bro, this is what me and her about now. And then you have to deal with the joking and the snippet. Whether you call it to be positive or negative behavior from men, it is negative, but they do it. So then now you have to be ready to now have warfare with other men because the disrespect's going to come your way. That's the difficulty behind choosing a woman who is well known in the community that you're in of moving them mad. That's the difficulty. You know, so it's not just ego, but it's also the fact you're avoiding certain warfare.
I don't want my friends looking at me providing for you and you used to be this, and that. Like, if you're confident in yourself, yes, this is a woman, but she's changed. And you may have had her, but you have not had her in the way that I've had her.
Yeah, but now the other guys have had her. That's the point. The ego of other men are now about to intrude on our daily life. Because let me tell you something about us as men. We are egotistical. And you know that already. So now if man has wifed a gal that we all been hitting, like, bro, he's wifing the girl that we all hit, bro. It's mad, cuz. You know them things there, fam. I bet man not even flipping it the way I flipped it, bro. Yeah, I flipped it differently when I was back in the day, you know. Yeah, fam. You know what old girl was doing them things there? Cuz if it's one guy, yeah, okay, cool. But if it's several guys that he knows of, and I say know of, like as in loosely, not that he knows them personally, but loosely, then we've got a problem. Because their thoughts are going to come into his pathway. And it makes it very much more difficult. But yeah, I know, I respect what she's saying.
I mean, I look at it as standards, not ego. And at the end of the day, we have to draw the line on what our standards are. Because at some point in time, you're not going to deal with certain things that somebody's bringing to the table, or I don't want to say bringing to the table that, but certain things that somebody's past has, that has transpired in their past. As a man, and I'm telling you, for most men, we're not going to stick with that knowing, because we, as a man,
you want the truth. Now, a woman doesn't feel like, and to go back to what we were talking about with women towing the line or lying or withholding information, and that's because of what you're just saying right now. Like, a woman can be your perfect candidate, but because of her past, you X her out without even...
Well, that's her business. She's got to tell the truth. Own your truth. If you lying, it's costing both. It can cost both of us. But my thing is this: if you lie, I can't accept you for who you are, and you're not accepting yourself for who you are. And who you are is also a part of your past as well. Accepting the fact that this happened in my past, whether you agree with it or not, you accept it and say, listen, maybe I reject that I ever did that again, or I say I accept that as part of me. Right? You got to be able to do that. Now, what's really interesting is that a woman's not expecting me to wife a porn star, right? Right? Let's say she was a reformed porn star. You probably look at me like, yeah, to be honest, I can understand what you're saying, coach. I know as a man, that'd be a bit, even for me as a woman, that might be too much. Why? Why do women say, like, I don't want a man that's got too many bodies? Because we all make these judgment calls. We make it based on our preferences, and we make it based on our ego. Women too, I don't want to date a pretty boy. Why not date a pretty boy? Because it hurts your ego, the fact that he's more pretty than you. Like, come on, we have a slight ego. But the difference is men have whole power, so their ego is prominent. And it actually can do damage because they hold power and position in society. But I'm going too deep, like, it's not necessary. And listen, like, share, subscribe, click on the bell button for notification of uploads. We appreciate you guys. Stay locked and stay loaded. Let us know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think? Do you agree or do you disagree?
Little black, you know what